So this is what we're using instead of lead and blue tack. We're using this silicon, clear silicon, because it won't bounce around. It has that shock absorbing effect. This is what was inside your other rackets. 2 of those and a bit of blue tack. Now that weighs about 11 grams here, and I'm saying the blue tack's probably 3 grams. So I'm going to put 14 grams of silicon into the channels. Now, the way we're going to control and measure how much we put in is by how much we're taking out. So we're going to weigh. First of all, the top of this cap, you can see it's got a little point on it. That's how you open this stuff. So you take that off. And then you put the top of that cap into the top of the thing to break the metal that's in there. And you can see I've put that hole in the top of the metal. It's in the top of the tube. Screwing on this that comes with it. Now we're going to cut this off at about there, I think. Let me see. Just want to look at the size of your channels and make sure you're well inside the size of the channels and the thing. So I think for me to fit it in there, yeah, probably that first link there, which looks like about 1/4 of an inch to me. I'm going to cut it off there. I've cut the top off there. It's ready to use. Don't squeeze it at this point. It'll start coming out. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to weigh that. So I'm going to turn on my scales here. You'll need scales that read in grams. And I'm going to put that tube in there, weigh it, and it's come up at 88 grams. Okay, so I'm going to take that now and I'm going to squirt some, and this will give me a rough idea of how much the stuff weighs, of how much I'll need. I'm going to go and squirt what I think would be about 4 grams, that would be my guess, into here. Squirting that down there slowly. You don't want to do it too quick, you'll end up with air bubbles in there. Okay, so I'll just go snap that off. Okay, so I've got some in there. There's still room, but I want to know how much I've used. So I'm going to just clean up the top of that on there. There we go, okay. Now I'm going to put it into the scales. And it's saying 85 grams. So that's 3 grams I've put in there. Remember, I'm looking for 14 in total on both sides here, so it's going to be 7 grams on each side if they're in even size. These look a little bit different in size, so I'll probably put a little 8 in this one and 6 in the other one. So I've put 3 grams in. That gives me a gauge of how much I need to squeeze in now. Okay, so I've got that in there. See, that's pretty well gone all the way to the top. I can just flatten that down in a second after I weigh it. I've got another spare cotton bud here. I'm just going to use that to clean up the top of the tube so that it doesn't go all over the scales. Just hang on a sec. Okay, so I've used that. I've cleaned up the top of this so it doesn't go on the scales. Now I'm going to weigh it, and I get 81 grams, so I've got 7 grams in there, so I'm pretty good. That's good. Okay, so I'm going to use a screwdriver just to clean that up a bit, push it down a bit. so it's flat. Which I've done. And now I'm going to clean that screwdriver with the cotton bud. Get that silicone off it. Okay, now we're ready to go on the other side. So we've got a fair idea of how much we need to put in there now. Now I'm going for the second half. I just remind myself of what this weighs. Yep, it's 81 grams. So I want to get further. I want to take it down to 81 less another 7 is 74. So I want to get it down to 74 grams. I've got a rough idea of how much I have to squeeze in there, but I'll just get started. Squeeze it in there slowly. Maybe you want it to go right down in there, so don't squeeze it out too fast or it'll get clogged at the top. Which I think it's doing. I think I'm getting it stuck at the top. So I'll clean the end of that off. I'll stick it in the scale, get an idea of what it weighs. See, I've only put 1 gram in and it's stuck at the top. So I'm going to need to get something and shove that down with it. I'll use the screwdriver and see how I go. Let's just push it down this side. Clear a space there. So I'll need to put that in a bit slower, won't I, so that it doesn't get caught at the top. I know how far down I go because I put a measurement on the screwdriver, a little white mark there. So I can push that down a fair way. Bring it out. I'll just sit on top of the silicone. Okay, what's that say? Oh, sorry, it's just recalibrated itself. It said went to 79 grams. Still, there's a lot to go in, so I'm just going to try and get it to go. I've got to try and have it go straight down so it doesn't touch the side, so it doesn't catch. It's not working too well. I've stuck the tube in there further. Hopefully I can get that to get it past where it's jamming in there now. Seems like it's working. I think I put a lot more in there. So let's have a measure of that now. Okay, I'm on 76 grams. So we've just put in 5. We only need 2 more grams in there. We're looking pretty good right now. So I'll stick it in there a long way again. Just give it a good squeeze. Bring it back up. I'll weigh it again. 75. Well, close. $74. Okay, it's down to 74 grams. That tells me, because we started at 88, that there is 14 grams right there, in there. So that's perfect. That's going to make the racket feel better, and it's going to add that weight into the bottom of the racket. Okay, I'm just going to clean this up in here a bit, so it doesn't get all jammed up. Try and flatten it down as much as possible. But it looks pretty good. It's pretty tidy. That's good. Just make sure there's none around the edge of where the butt cap goes in. So we're just going to tidy that off there and there. Make sure the butt cap can just slip in there. Nothing blocking it. That's good. So that's that. That's the first part of it out of the way. Okay, I got myself a cup of coffee. And I just remembered that I forgot to tell you that you probably shouldn't put the butt caps back on these for at least a day. And because that needs to dry and set a bit. So I'd say, if you can leave them 2 days, even better. But you've got 4 rackets to do, so just do this to all 4. But if you let them sit for a day, probably enough, 24 hours. Then you're going to put the butt cap back on the racket, and then we'll move towards the top of the racket. So you would just lie the lead on the strings like that. I'm putting it here now on this one, roughly where it should go on yours. Maybe down one more string. Let me see. That's a bit too close to the middle. So on this racket, it's the 3rd string. I know I said the 3rd string before, but that's on this is a spin effect. I'd say it's probably the 4th string. 1, 2, 3, 4 on your racket for the top of the tape. Okay, and you want to make sure that you put them in exactly the same place on all 4 rackets. So you just lie the tape there. When you got it right, balancing it, it hits that line that you've put on it. Right, turning it. Okay, it's balancing on the line. I've nailed it. That's where I want it, and that's how much tape I need. Remember, you add a bit or take away a bit until you get it right. After you've done the first racket, you should know exactly how much lead is going where, because they're all packed the same way in the bottom of the grip, aren't they? They've already been done. So then you've got to just cut these in half. Put half on the inside of the frame on this side and half on the other side.